All right, 3, 2, 1, go. Jesse here. Um, the Diablo 2 folks posted, and I thought it was worth a video. The Diablo 2 Resurrected reset, I guess, ladder, um, is going to be coming up soon ish, hopefully. Today is the 1st of March. Um, they're releasing an update to the PTR. But yeah, this change for the Uber Diablo is worth talking about. So the Uber Diablo is I guess an end game boss. I don't really know how you describe it. In Diablo, they're not really bosses in the same way as there are in other action RPG variants. You can go to an act boss like Bale or Mephisto, within 30 seconds or less, and kill them and move on to the next one. There are not a lot of games that have that type of format. Um, but Uber Diablo, you can't do that because it spawns uh, based on some very convoluted method involving selling Stones of Jordan back to the vendor, and you have to be on the right like IP, the right server. And there are these weird groups that would go like Uber Diablo hunting and farming by gathering up Stones of Jordan and then selling them in bulk. And once you sell a certain enough of them, it like triggers the Diablo now walks the earth kind of thing. It spawns. The way this is handled in the slash Diablo private server is that you can create Uber Diablo in your own game in a single instance. That means a single created game can create one single Uber Diablo event, right? Um, Traditionally, it was an event that was as big as the server itself could hold. However many people were in that server, that was the number of Uber Diablos that spawned, the number of games, and the one of the most powerful items in the game, the Annie, the little charm, gives one to all skills and resistance and stats. Uh, it has a range, but it's very powerful, and it's an end game item that every single character that you create is going to want in their inventory. So there's a motivation to work to get the Uber Diablos to spawn for your game. Now, obviously, um, this method of like hunting for the right IP and like pulling up your internet, information and going to like the port area and scrolling and trying to figure out if you're in the right game and then going, there are people that did this as like a group, as a unit, and they're very kind of close knit, and actually they were so um you know closed off because the items were so valuable, Annies were so valuable, that there is speculation that they're very very tied at the hip to um real money trading. Not all of them, but you know there's there's been a lot of history of RMT uh, in games of this format. In fact, there's so much of a history that that's kind of the reason there was a real money auction house in the first iteration of Diablo 3. Because Blizzard wanted to get a piece of the pie that they could not eliminate. No matter how hard they worked, they couldn't get people to stop selling items and buying items for real US currency. So, anyways, that's kind of long-winded thing to say. One of the ways they're tackling this problem is by making Uber Diablo a lot more accessible. So the change is progress towards Uber Diablo is tracked per game type, which means classic, classic hardcore, classic ladder, classic hardcore ladder, expansion, expansion, whatever, etc., etc. Basically, all this means is that you don't have to be in that server instance, and it says that you can even check the progress. You can literally create a game and check the progress. There's a lot of like, there was so much nuance to finding an Uber Diablo spawn in the old version. And I loved the way that Slash Diablo did it. In fact, that's my preference, where you could try to farm it yourself, in a manner of speaking, but having it more accessible to the server-wide, community-wide spawn is also a good thing. So that's one major change that I think is going to be really welcome. As far as class changes, there's some interesting things here. I don't generally play a lot of Amazon, so but it's good that they're making adjustments. Also not super interested in the assassin changes. This is the barbarian. If you remember last time I talked about the PTR changes, I specified that one of the problems with the barbarian was just going to be the playstyle of killing enemies one at a time. And if you buffed something like Berserk, or if you buffed Concentrate, it just wasn't relevant, because destroying enemies all at once with an AoE effect was more beneficial and faster, and just inevitably, I mean, it's just the nature of the game. There's going to be an archetype that mechanically is behind the 8 ball here, but they did make some just flat damage bonuses, which I appreciate. I really do. This is the move. I mean, they got to do something. You know, and I had mentioned in the previous video, I mean, I literally wanted them just to give massively fat buffs to these kind of classes, because I think the people who are playing these kind of classes, they don't actually realize how much slower their progression is and their farming is than, you know, the people who, like me, I mean, basically I've been playing the game for so many years. I know that you have to play a sorceress to farm the fastest. It's just it's the way the game is designed. So I'm glad they're buffing this more. I would say just crank it, continue to buff, keep buffing, make them one shot everything. Who cares? And then this, where's the Armageddon change? The Armageddon change. This is the other thing I read that I'm excited about. This spell is interesting. There are a lot of interesting fire spells, elemental spells on the druid side of the tree. I hope that this class is strong enough and worthwhile enough. I do think I'm going to try it. I'm obviously going to start the sorceress like traditional, probably farm some torches, same as I always do, same as I did on the private server. I'll do it again. But yeah, I'll probably switch to druid at some point. So yeah, that's kind of it for this video. But hope to see you all. I probably won't do too much PTR stuff, but I will probably do a fair bit of laddering once that kicks off. So see y'all soon.